there we go. Okay, so for those of you who I don't know, so it's nice to see some familiar faces, but lots of people who I've not met before as well. So this is me with my team in the days when you're allowed to stand next to each other. Hopefully that won't be too far away with the vaccine coming so close. But so we are based in York. Pro Development, we've been going for just coming up nearly 10 years actually, so we'll be celebrating in September next year, our 10th birthday, working with businesses in and around Yorkshire and the Humber, really sort of focusing on talent retention. So how do you keep your talent? You know, we work so hard to get them, so making sure we don't lose them, looking at productivity and morale in teams, which is obviously a big one at the moment. We spend a lot of our time developing leaders and managers, so really helping them to kind of inspire others. And at the moment, actually, a huge amount of our time is spent on team building. I think lots of people really struggling at the moment with teams and missing that sense of team. So a lot of our time, obviously a lot of it online, although I was just saying I'm doing a Christmas team building event coming up next month in a room with real people, and I am really looking forward to it. So, but yeah, a lot of it online at the moment as well. And I've put our values on there, but we'll be touching on those a little bit today as well, because we're going to talk a little bit about values and how important they are as well. So today's session very much just looking at the importance of vision and values. So why would we even have them? How you can inspire people with them and how it can help them to deliver on your behalf. Looking at tools and techniques that can help you to do some of that, and a few strategies to help bring your values to life as well. And I'm going to ask all of you at the end to make a commitment. I always think if you leave these sessions and just do at least one thing differently, happy days. We can all go and make a difference. I'm a big believer in the 1% difference. If we all just do 1%, then it'll all make a bit of a difference together as well. So I'll be asking you just to kind of what you've been your takeaways at the end of the session as well, if you want to be thinking about that throughout. So I wanted to start a little bit by telling you a bit of a story. It might be a story that you've heard before because it is quite a famous story, but it's one that I always love. It always, even now, it still makes me go a bit goosebumpily when I think about it. So it was when NASA's headquarters were first opened back in 1961. John F. Kennedy went to go and have a look around, and he was kind of meeting lots of the people at NASA. And as he was walking around, he came across a cleaner, janitor, who was sweeping up the corridor, and just stopped him and just asked him about his job, what his job was. And you know, I always think, I met somebody the other day, actually, it just made me chuckle, because I said, oh, what do you do? And he said, oh, I'm just an accountant. And how many times do we hear people say, don't we, oh, I'm just a cleaner, I'm just an accountant, I'm just a receptionist, whatever it is. But actually this janitor, proud as punch, with his brush in his hand, said, I'm actually helping to put a man on the moon. And I think that's really, really powerful. I just think, you know, to have somebody, no matter what their job is, no matter what role they take, making that huge connection back to their purpose, that's gold dust to me. Real gold dust. I was chatting to a guy recently who's got he does holiday lets, and I was, you know, talking to him. He says, well, look, that's easy when it's NASA, because, you know, there's easy to make that connection, how cool it is to put people on the moon. But actually, you know, I just do holiday lets, and I was like, well, that ain't inspiring. If I was making a bed in one of your holiday lets, just thinking we just do holiday lets, that wouldn't inspire me. But actually, what you're doing is you're creating experiences for people, you know, that their well-earned, you know, kind of money and time that they work so hard for. You're helping to create this amazing experience for them in your lovely holiday cottage. And it was kind of like the penny dropped. And I think we can all do this, but we just need to give it thought. And it's so important. And I think actually now more so than ever, because what we're finding from speaking to lots of people at the moment, and I don't know whether you can resonate with this at all, is that people are absolutely struggling with purpose at the moment. a lot of people have kind of almost lost a bit of their sense of purpose. I don't know whether it's just because people have had time, lots of people maybe who were furloughed. I think a lot of us, I know I've sort of done it a bit sometimes, like, and what's it all about? What's this all about? It's been a bit of a weirdy world, really, hasn't it, the last few months? So I think a lot of people are questioning things more than ever. So really thinking about, how are you helping your people to get that sense of purpose? No matter whether you're a small company of 3 people or whether you're a huge company of thousands, we all do need this opportunity to connect with this sense of purpose that we have. And providing that clarity is so important to our people. People need to feel connected. We need to have this sense of, if I do this here, I'm actually impacting on this greater thing here. We all need to feel that what we do makes a difference in some way. And through having that vision and goals and kind of values that can really help to connect people to this sense of purpose that we all often really crave in our work as well. And if you don't know where you're heading, it's very difficult to feel that sense of purpose. I always liken it to, I always say it's a bit like a bus. I always think that our businesses are just like a bus. We kind of want to get everybody on the bus, and we all want to know that we're all going in the same direction. I meet some businesses where everybody's on different buses. Some people are even still on the bus stop. They're stood there wondering what's going on. You want everybody on your bus, and you want the right people on your bus, but you're not going to get very many people jumping on your bus if they don't know where it's going. You might get an odd thrill seeker here and there who are just going along for the ride, but most people want to know, where are we headed? And actually, it's very interesting at the moment, because I had a bit of a reflection on this myself. In March, we were coming to the end of our financial year, and I had just drawn up some really great plans for the business and thinking about kind of what we were going to do in this financial year. And then COVID hit, and it kind of got stuck away in a plastic wallet for another day, because it was all completely kind of overridden by COVID. But interestingly, we're all on this journey, aren't we? And we sometimes need to know that, do you know what? Sometimes a diversion might hit. We might need to take a different route. And how many people through COVID were sat on that bus thinking, oh, we have no idea now. Where are we going? We've taken a completely different direction. Does anybody know where we're going? No. And I think a lot of people felt that through COVID, and some people did a great job of doing like a little mini vision, if you like. And sometimes that vision might be just to get through. Let's just, we're just going to get through. This is what we're doing in the short term. But don't forget that people still need that vision. They still need to know, where's the direction we're heading. We might be taking a few kind of bends and twists and turns on the way, but where is it ultimately we're looking to head to go to? And just thinking about that now, just do me a little raised hand. How many of you have got a vision for your business? Stick your hand up and give me a little wave. And I know a couple of you are on, you might just want to pop your cameras on just so I can see. It's nice to kind of see there. So sorry, hands up if you've got a vision. So probably some have, some haven't. All right, okay. So most of you got a bit of a vision there. So how many of you have got a team as well? Stick your hand up if you've got a team to share, or associates or people that you work with. And yeah. Okay. How many of you, hands on heart, can say your team know what that vision is really, really clearly? Anybody? Anna's got a hand up. That's good. Well done, Anna. Yeah, kind of Richard's got a bit of a, George has got a bit of a, Warwick's got a little bit of a, Indri is the same as well. Yeah, so I think it's probably quite telling, isn't it, that we've got a lot of our people who are like, not really sure. And I always, I remember a couple of years ago, we went in to do an employee engagement survey with a firm of accountants, actually, and they were like, oh no, we've got this vision and we've shared it with all the team. So when we come to question this in the survey, everybody will tell you, yeah, we know what the vision is. And then the survey came back, and guess what? Nobody had a clue what the vision was. And when we actually went to share the results back with the accountants, they were really cross. Okay, how can people not know this? And when I asked them what they'd done, they said, well, we did a PowerPoint presentation probably about 18 months ago. Right, okay. So again, how often you share this is so important. We have got, in fact, does anybody know how many times we need to hear something on average before it really kind of goes in? Anybody going to be brave enough to give me a number? You can either put it in the chat or just shout it out. I don't mind. We're only a small number.
Was it 5?
I got a 6 there. Somebody said a 5.
0.7.
Yeah. 6 to 9, between 6 to 9 times. So yeah, doing a PowerPoint presentation is not going to cut it. We're going to have to keep finding, it might be one of the ways we do it, but there's going to be a number of different ways that we need to do it. So just really think about that and think about, when was the last time? So for those of you that put your hand up, which was Anna, and who else actually had the hand up? We had a couple of wavy hands. Richard was and George were. When did you last share it, Anna? Honestly, and no judgment is going to come.
This morning.
Ah.
The thing with ours is so simple. Our CEO is it should be very simple and one line, and it's simply great experiences in swim, bike, run as British Triathlon, the federation for the national governing body. So people say it all the time. So we had a meeting this morning talking about a vision for our service, and it's to provide great experiences in swim, bike, run. So it's just because it's so simple that you can just remember it and everybody knows it.
Yeah. It's interesting actually, because we talk a lot about what's the difference between a mission and a vision and things like that. That's kind of quite sometimes having a strap line. So ours is growing business to retain your talent, growing your business through your people is kind of like our strap line. But I've still got a kind of vision behind that, which is kind of expands on that a little bit more. And I think sometimes with our visions, we need to think about actually, are we really making it clear? So for example, I hear a lot of companies who will share a vision that's about the customer. So we're here, we're going to do amazing things for our customers and blah, blah, blah. They'll have this great vision for the customer. And there's nothing in there about the team. There's nothing in there about the people. So it's almost like, well, how are you going to do that? Is that going to, having this year we're going to do 250k turnover or whatever it is. Yeah. What about the team? How are you going to do that? And I think sometimes thinking about your vision, really think about, is it compelling? Is there something in there that, yes, have that kind of high connection like Anna shared about kind of what we're here to do, but then what is that middle bit that helps to bring it to life, that helps people think, whoa, yeah, brilliant, this is what we're here to do. Something that excites you, because if you're not excited about it, there's little chance that your team will be, but something that excites the team as well. So Richard, you did a bit of a wavy kind of wobbly hand. When did you last share yours, Richard? You're on mute at the moment, so you might just want to unmute. I don't know whether we might be on a call. Right, okay. No, Richard,
no.
either. Cool.
No, I'm beginning of the monthly management meeting. We have them every week, but we have one at the beginning of the month.
And that's updating everybody on your vision and what you're there to do.
Regurgitating.
Brilliant. So every opportunity you can with your vision, share it in your monthlies like Richard's doing, share it in your meetings like Anna's saying, CEO's kind of constantly doing that, but find a way, but find something that is compelling, something that really will help people to feel like it's something to be excited about. And just remember, you need everybody on your bus all going in the same direction, and in order to do that, they need to know where it's heading.
I've got, is there going to be sort of type of questions in a bit? Because I've got an issue around people even seeing us having a vision or not. Like some people are saying, why would we even have that? Can we pick it up on that now? Or would you
we can pick up on it now, Esther. So go on, sorry,
Yeah, so we're setting strategy for the next 5 to 10 years, and we're doing, going through looking at things like SWOTs and all the rest of it. And somebody on the board is saying, well, why? I don't think we even need to spend, it's just sort of nice words. What's the point of having a mission, vision, values? For me, they're just completely key, because it's all about who you are. So that's why I kind of come on this to say, so I just, how do you, if you've got that kind of dissonance where people are saying, well, I can't see the point, how do you kind of work with that?
Yeah. So one of the things that so one of my passions in life, Esther, is employee engagement. I'm very fortunate. I'm also part of Engage for Success. So I'm the regional ambassador for Yorkshire and the Humber for Engage for Success. And they have done shed loads of research around what really engages people. And a big engagement driver is having a vision that motivates and inspires people. So if you really want an engaged team, you need to have a vision that motivates and inspires. If you want an engaged team, you need to have a great culture and a set of values that are core to the business. So 2 out of the 11 areas that we measure engagement on are related to vision and values. And in terms of if people want hard and fast, kind of like, why would we bother? There's whole heaps of research around it reduces sickness, it reduces it increases retention. The cost of losing an employee now is between 12 to 18 months of a salary. And we often lose people because they don't feel that sense of connection to the business. I left an organization because I didn't actually feel aligned to their values, and that's really costly. It helps with creativity, it helps with innovation, it helps with productivity, and ultimately organizations with a really highly engaged workforce on average about 15% more profit. So if they want some kind of like monetary thing as well, there's loads of, I've got some great stuff on it, Esther, and obviously we know each other, so happily can send you. I've got a slide that actually kind of covers all the benefits of doing this kind of stuff. I'll happily have a chat with you about that offline as well.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. So just kind of on the diversion side of things, the CEO of the Marriott did a fantastic job of this, and I don't know whether any of you have seen, there's like a great video that he did, and it's actually kind of been published as well. And when you hit a diversion, this is where we just sometimes need that short-term vision. What are we going to do in this short term? As kind of we've got a big kind of barrier or a big kind of bump in the road coming. And he did a video to all of the Marriott group. So this video went to the whole all across the world, to all the employees of the Marriott. And he really helped people to kind of make that sense of, we're going to be in this together, we're going to get through this, and we're going to thrive again. And I think sometimes, again, when things are shaky, when we hit that bump in the road, or when we can see it coming, we need that reassurance from the CEO, from the MD, from the directors, from your manager, whoever it is, whatever your role is. You can make a huge difference by, again, thinking about what's that short-term plan just to help us to get through. We're still heading in this direction, but we're kind of taking this diversion. That's what the CEO of the Marriott did incredibly well. And I think what a lot of people talked about that made it so great was he was very authentic in it. He showed some vulnerability. He kind of said, we don't know what the future holds. And I think sometimes that's what we need to be really honest and transparent in it as well. He just was very, very genuine and authentic. And I think that's what people really warmed to as well. And again, there's this series of webinars that I'm doing one around, the next one is around authentic leadership. So that might be another one for you to come along and join. There's some information at the end about that one. But yeah, just thinking about, actually, this is what we've got, our opportunity really to really help people connect to us, and they need to hear from us. We can't get away from that as leaders. That's what people are looking for from us as well. So in terms of some sort of tools and techniques and things to help us around this, what kind of what kind of things do you think are going to help you to find a way to engage people with your vision? What sort of ideas, what sort of things do people do now? So we heard from Richard that he does it in his monthly sessions, and it kind of keeps revisiting it. I think that's great. Anna's mentioned about the CEO doing something as well, and having that kind of clear sort of mission as well. What other things can we do that help to bring this vision to life, other than actually, of course, having one? That goes without saying. What ideas have people got, Warwick?
I might be the rogue one in here because I thought that conversation about the vision, mission, and values was interesting. I think whether it's a tool or it's a technique, if the vision informs the way the organisation operates, it continually keeps reinstilling it. So I'm probably going to push back and say, just regurgitating is never going to just land it. I've worked with a couple of organisations now where it's more about it structures the way that the senior management runs the operations, and that's the bit that continues every day. But it doesn't become. I think the challenge I've got against visions and missions is they tend to get done in a nice exercise and then they get put on a shelf.
Yeah, totally.
So I could hear where we talk a lot about what's the purpose, and it might be a strap line, and it might be what Anna was talking about, and then it's more about behaviours, and that becomes the culture within the organisation. But the vision allows you to structure your conversation, so it's probably a technique rather than a tool. It informs the way the business operates on a daily basis, and that should be something that continues to evolve rather than just that's what we said we're doing, so we're sticking to it. So I don't want to be cause controversy, but
no, not at all.
I think it's more about a technique of saying,
yeah.
I'm finding in my work is people don't like doing visions and missions. So I can definitely hear where Esther's coming. People are just saying it's just words. It doesn't mean anything. And it's more about what's the purpose and what are the behaviours we're expecting. So and that is continually part of the operation, and everybody talks about it and reports into it. So apologies for going on, but I thought it was a great conversation, because I think it's something that's evolving now.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting. I think just picking up on something Warwick said there, I've always felt when I set up Pro Development, I had a very strong vision. I think it came from the fact that I'd had a lot of coaching, and I was really sure when I set up Pro Development that I needed it to do what it is that was going to fulfill me, but what also about our clients and the kind of people we wanted to work with. And I would say the one thing that our vision has done, and we talk about our vision all the time in our conversations every day, it isn't plastered on the walls. It's just what we do day to day, but we often use it as I always think it's vision and values are often a bit like an anchor. I think they kind of keep you to, this is what we're here to do. And it doesn't mean to say a vision has to be set in stone. And of course it can change and it can morph, and it should, because sometimes we need to look differently. But I think it often keeps us into that, why are we here? And actually, should we be doing that? Because is it going to take us off? And a great example I've got of that, years and years ago when we first set up, we were approached by the Cabinet Office to do a piece of work. And I think, I look back now and I think we were kind of almost like, whoa, how exciting, this amazing piece of work. And we agreed to do it. And it was absolutely nothing in line with our vision. But we did it because it seemed like a really exciting piece of work to do. And we did a great job. We won an award for it. But afterwards we said, oh my goodness, why on earth did we do that? It was totally not in our vision. And we learned almost the hard way. But I think sometimes these things come to test us. And I think what we do now is, we've often said, we'll always go back to our vision, and it keeps us on it's like our map. This is where we, do we really want to go off course in that direction? Maybe not. And I think, again, just kind of what Warwick's talking about, that it should be a living, breathing thing. It should be in those conversations you have every day. And, having worked in a big global organization, they don't have to be anything like fandangly. They don't have to be like, this like, oh, we've got to get all the work. It sometimes comes from the heart. It's about, this is where we're trying to get to. And it's about it being something that is compelling in your stories that you tell, in the things that you do. So yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, Warwick. Brilliant. Any other sort of tools or techniques that anybody's got that are things that they think would be useful, things that you're doing to help bring your vision to life? Any other thoughts?
Not that I'm doing it. I want to be doing it, but I'm thinking about your janitor at NASA, so that everybody could stick a pin in how they contribute to the vision.
Yeah. And a really great way to do that, Esther, as well, is when you kind of get going with it, is making sure that people's goals and objectives, whatever you want to call them, that they're doing every day in their job, align back to, they've got that line of sight back to the vision as well, so that rather than just doing this random activity where they're not thinking about what it contributes to, they can see, they know, and as a team everybody knows, well, I'm doing this bit, you're doing that bit, that's your bit, but together we are all heading and moving towards the same goal. So again, making sure you've got line of sight with things like that as well, really helpful. Appraisals, reviews, one-to-ones, all those sorts of things are an opportunity again to kind of bring them to life for people. Always, I think, a really great, when you do get your vision as well, you know, kind of sharing it, storytelling, sharing in a Colin Pelling way. Don't send it to people, don't stick it on some slides and, you know, hope that people are going to make that connection. They need to talk about it. You need to have breakout sessions and get people talking about what does it mean to them and their team. All those sorts of things will help to bring it to life. And then actually as well, getting teams to take that away and then look at, right, okay, so we've heard now from Esther about what our vision is, but actually what does it mean to us in our team? And then doing some work again at a level that's around their team, and again connecting back up. So lots of, I think if you do something like that well and you get everybody involved and engaged in it, again, it really helps to bring it to life, and people can question, challenge, talk about it, understand it, those sorts of things, which they don't always feel able to do in a bigger event. So breaking it down a little bit as well. There's loads of things that you can do. I mean, there's just a few things I've just sort of put on here, but yeah, making sure it's about giving that clarity of the direction of where you're going, checking, understanding, you know, making sure people have understood it and absolutely have interpreted it in the right way. So one thing that I always find fascinating is we hear something, we have our own map of the world, we interpret it completely differently to what the organisation intended. So again, getting people to replay it back, as I was saying, by sharing it. Again, looking at a team level, how did the team contribute and support it, turning that into team goals, and then taking a step back and looking at the goals and asking people, how connected are you on a, you know, 1 to 10 on how connected are you feeling to that vision as well. Keep checking in on things like that, sharing it, as we said, in an inspiring way, storytelling, asking team members how they think they contribute to it as well, and then turning those things, as we said, into objectives, and then again checking are people connected to their objectives as well. You know, I worked for an organisation years ago, we used to have objectives and they were just so disconnected from everything. It was just like a set of words, a bit like a vision can end up being as well. So making sure people are really connected to their objectives, that they're a living, breathing thing and not something that get created at the beginning of the year, never to be looked at again until it comes to the review, and then people are scrabbling around thinking, oh right, I better find some evidence about how I've achieved these objectives, which is kind of where, you know, my organisation was as well. And then yeah, you know, making sure if they're not, you know, discuss it, ask for more ideas and get people really engaged in that process, and it will make a real difference as well. And just keep going, you know, until you've got buy-in from people, and it might take a few iterations, different ways of doing it, all those different levels, 6 to 9 times of different, you know, not just, as Warwick was saying, not just repeating the same old, but looking at it from different angles, different perspectives, customers, all those sorts of things, to really get that buy-in from people. Janie, you've just come off mute. Did you want to add something or ask something?
Yeah, I was just going back to what you were sort of saying. In my previous role, I was a tourism officer for North Yorkshire, but I was paid for by lottery funding through the Big Local project. So part of the role was basically to put a particular area of North Yorkshire coast back on the map. So what I did was I created, using the Tour de Yorkshire as a model, I created a bike race called the Klondike. No, I'm not. I prefer horses. I'm not a bike rider by any stretch of the imagination. But it going back to that buy-in. It was part of my sort of remit was the fact that the way that my villages and the people that were part of the lottery funding, to get them to understand and to commit the payment into the project, was basically about giving it back to them as communities. So for every time they said, oh, it's bike ride, what does it, you know, it was about putting it back to them, which is basically you're going to be on the TV. What are you going to do to make this better? And for every negative, we turned it back on itself to make them as a community work together. And so the buy-in was them and how proud they were, and then they could then show that it wasn't just a professional bike race that came. It was the fact that everyone bought in. So leading it from the top end was sort of giving them objectives, giving them options, and then for every negative being able to put a positive back onto it. You know, it was that two-sided coin in a very, very short time period, and it did work really well, and the legacy continued on. The bike race continued way past the funding.
Brilliant.
So it can work.
Yeah, totally. It's about putting effort into it, isn't it? And I think, and time, I think that's probably where a lot of people fall foul of vision. It's because it feels like it's time consuming job. It gets done. It, like Warwick said, it kind of gets stuck on a shelf, never to be seen again. And it never gets brought to life, and it never gets embedded, and it's not actually meaningful to people. So that's brilliant, Janie. I love that. There's a session I'm doing at some point around change and sharing a model by Cotter, and that's a great session if you get a chance to come on it, because that's about actually how do you get buy-in as well to you know, for things like this. And that's a great example, Janie, as well. Thank you. Brilliant. Okay, so just touching on and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I did just want to touch on, I was talking about the objectives and how important they are, people's objectives, goals, whatever it is in their day-to-day jobs as well. So I've spent a lot of years working for organisations that had objectives, and as I say, I had a set of objectives years ago that were just words on a page and really weren't very meaningful. And we often hear about the kind of the age-old acronym SMART, but we talk about objectives being SMARTY, hence the Smarties packet there. So for those, how many of you come across SMART before? Stick your hand up if you come across SMART before. Right, so okay, well, so what does the S stand for? Let's just kind of remind if anybody hasn't come across it before. When you're writing your objectives, what do they need to be? Specific, brilliant. So that's the first one. They need to be really specific so people know what it is that they're meant to be doing. The M is for
measurable.
Measurable, absolutely. There's no point in having an objective if you can't measure if it's successful or not, or achievable, which is the next one. So making sure it's achievable and maybe even aligned as well. And that's kind of my we always say, you know, make sure it's aligned back to the vision as well, you know, that it's achievable for the individual and within the timescales and everything that's been set, but it's aligned back to the vision as well. The R, what does the R stand for? Anybody? Don't be shy.
Realistic.
Yeah, realistic or relevant. We sort of say again either, you know, realistic in terms of what you're asking the person to do. And I think that's often about thinking about their skill sets as well. Don't just think about it in terms of, you know, the post and the role, but actually about the person. Is it realistic for that person and their skill set? Is it relevant? Is it relevant to the job? Is it relevant to the vision? Is it relevant to what we're trying to achieve? The T, most people can always remember, that's about the time bound. You know, it's about it being something that is measurable in a time scale rather than just a never-ending goal or objective. But the I and the E, I think, are really, really important for me in terms of thinking about SMART is great, but if you really want people to be engaged, excited into the future, looking at those objectives and wanting to achieve them, they need a bit more than just SMART in there. So any ideas what the I might be standing for? Anybody? Any thoughts?
Is it idea?
Sorry?
Idea?
Idea? No, it's not idea.
I'm going to say inspiring because you mentioned it earlier.
It isn't inspiring, but I really like that one actually. I think I guess where it comes from is, but we'll hold inspiring more because it probably comes a little bit into the next one. For us, it's about people being involved with them. So many people's objectives are set and given to them, and they've got no ownership for them, no connection with them. They don't really understand them. There should be a two-way process that you sit down and you agree together. Equally, I find, managers will say, well, you go and set your objectives and you bring them to me. That's just as bad. It should be a two-way process that you sit down together and you talk about the vision and you talk about their role, their skills, what they're there to do, and then you set some really great objectives for them that they are inspired and connected to, but that are maybe stretching them a little bit. There's some research come out quite recently that one of the main reasons why people leave an organization, other than because of their managers, unfortunately, it's one of the reasons, is because they don't feel challenged. And so again, objectives, you need to look at, are they really kind of challenging that individual? Are they giving them that opportunity to grow and those sorts of things as well? So the E is, this is kind of where I think the inspiring is that Warwick talked about, is those have got to be engaging. They've got to be exciting. If you look at your objectives and you think, there's little chance that you're going to kind of really crack on and do great stuff with them. But if you look at them and you really can't wait to get started on them, then those are the right kind of objectives. You're engaged in them, you can see what they're contributing to, and you really want to make that difference. So really, don't just do smart objectives, do smarty objectives, and really make sure that people are connected to them in a really positive way. It'll make such a huge difference. Okay. So just to sort of finish off on vision, then we'll have a quick look at values. Is just thinking as well about, I'm a massive fan of Lencioni. I love his model. And I think, again, when you think about your vision, when you're creating your vision as well, you're ultimately, what you're trying to do is get great results in your business. This is another reason for having a really strong vision, because you're kind of trying to achieve these results that hopefully you may well have in your vision as well. But again, if you haven't got trust, if you haven't got healthy conflict, if people are fearful of conflict, if they're lacking commitment because they're not connected to the vision, they're not accountable, there's not going to get the results that you want to get. So again, when you're looking at your vision, it's again thinking about what are you doing in your vision to help build trust with people. Not having a vision is not going to help build trust, because you kind of don't know what it is you're trying to connect with. But really exploring that and using the vision as a way to build that trust with people, to be transparent with them and let them know what it is that you're there to do, to let people challenge it if they don't understand it or if it isn't meaningful to people, so that you've got that healthy conflict in the business as well. So just bear that in mind when you're thinking about your vision. How are you trusting and empowering people? Because if you haven't got that sitting behind the vision, you're going to really struggle as well to engage people at the moment. So again, just bear that in mind when you're thinking about your vision as well. But what I wanted to talk a little bit about was kind of vision and values really as well, and looking at the two and how the two connect. And I've got a little video here that I'd just like to share with you. It's one I've absolutely got stolen off YouTube. It's not ours, but I absolutely love it. And I think it's a really great one for just thinking about vision and values and the difference that they can make as well. So I'm just going to share this video with you. Let me know if you can hear it all right.
Why do I love Dropbox? Boy, I mean, if you've got a few hours, I can go over it.
So why do I love Dropbox?
Why do I love Dropbox?
Why do I love Dropbox?
It's a really difficult question.
Gotta be the people.
The people. The people.
There's not a bad apple in the whole building.
Dropbox is, everyone's positive. I feel like every time I come to work, it's just extremely positive.
I think it's a very human place, if that makes sense.
The culture at Dropbox is down to earth and magical.
Lots of dedication, hard work, paired with a lot of fun at the same time.
It's also a culture where people want to deliver on results, but they also never take themselves too seriously.
Dropbox is respectful of my time, not only here at work, but also at home.
There is a seamless integration between your life and your work.
It's just such a diverse group of people, and everyone comes together to create this all-star team.
I'm always surprised here at Dropbox.
There's a lot of talk at Dropbox about how great our perks are.
My very favorite perk at Dropbox is the tea and scones cart. You're just like sitting there writing code and all of a sudden this cart comes by your desk.
The gym is great. It's awesome. I really enjoy the gym and being able to work out and then pump iron.
There's a music room at the office, so I spend a bunch of time there, late nights, playing guitar with folks from work.
The one thing that really attracted me to come to Dropbox was this belief that users really own their data.
It's not uncommon that I'm walking around and I have a Dropbox t-shirt on and somebody will stop me on the street and be like, I love what you build. And I love that. I just love knowing that what I'm building has so much impact on so many users.
One day Dropbox will be such an iconic name that I will look back and be so proud of myself for being a part of the journey.
It all goes back to empowerment and initiative. These things are just core to who we are and the kind of people we hire.
It's not only a place where I come to work, it's a place that I come to grow.
Oh my God, I love Dropbox. Is this interview over now? Okay, thanks.
Okay. So, I'll just move on. So yeah, I guess just thinking about that video, just going back and thinking about that video. I mean, obviously it's a promotional video for Dropbox. There's no getting away from that. But I just think there's a lot of things in there that we can I guess we can take from that in terms of vision and values. What are the things, what resonated with you, or what are the things that kind of stood out to you about that video? Jenny?
I think it was quite sort of stereotypical to the the sort of the receptionist, the secretary, the admin officer, the finance officer, the IT guru, that it's all your different functions in a sort of a little bit, but amusingly stereotypical to, like there's a scene in a film of a school PTFA, and you've got like the chair, and it's almost something out of the Spice Girls. One's sporty, one's this, one's that, and so that sort of resonates in that video, is that everyone plays a part within it, but actually the stereotypical backside of it sort of sneaks through, which is trying to think what I mean. Like with Shrek, with your innuendos, isn't it? That you, as a parent, you take your own sort of smirky part on it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think that was quite clever with that, because everyone's watched the Muppets, Sesame Street, something like that. So instantly, it's putting down your barriers that you are paying a little bit more attention to that advert because it's working, because everyone likes it. And then there's just those sneaky innuendos in it, which actually means you're subconsciously taking on what they're saying and putting your own sort of analogy into it.
Yeah, brilliant. But yeah, definitely love that, spotting the kind of different roles and actually how we all contribute to this as well, and people talking about that in quite a realistic way, weren't they, as well, and quite an animated way, that it was something that was quite clearly they were connected with. Anything else that people took from it? Warwick?
I was just thinking, I've not seen that before, so thank you, Michelle. I think the reference to the people, I know there was with the reference around people continually, was more about there's good people, and the more we see in the better performing organisations, it tends to be it's contained with good people. That doesn't mean they're the most skilled and the most bright. They're actually just good people that work and enthused. So I just thought I like that, and it sings to my little humour as well. So thank you for the Dropbox video. I'll have to dig that one in.
The link's on there as well. You'll get a copy of the link there, because I love this video. I think it's a great little video. It always makes me smile, no matter how many times I've seen it. But yeah, I think it's got I think it's that idea, isn't it, that, and I think this is really important when it comes to values, is whatever tone and culture you set within your business, it attracts certain people towards it, and then you end up then having a really great workplace where people have similar shared values. And I think that's what really came across for me in this video, is There was a real sense of, they knew what their purpose was. They were proud. I think that came across really strongly. And I think that's really important, is you need your employees to feel really proud of your vision and what you're there to do and what that purpose is. And again, sometimes that's easier than others, but I think it's still possible to do that connection as well. But it's those values as well, that kind of, they had these sort of shared values together. And I think, you know, when I look back on my journey, my career, and when I was most unhappy, it was when my values were totally at odds with the organization that I worked in, and that I was miserable. I really was. And you know, I had that kind of recognition that this organization isn't going to change its values. This is what it's about. I've made a mistake. I've joined a company that is not suited to my values. And I think the great thing about having core values is sometimes it helps people to make those choices, like I did. You know, we often meet organizations, especially smaller businesses, maybe kind of less than 300 employees, where they'll say, oh God, I don't know how we've ended up getting some of these people, but they've had no values. But then when they start to do the values and they share them, some people start to move on. And actually, it's nearly always the ones that need to move on, because they start to recognize there's a disconnect there, or that they're actually there's going to be some serious conversations starting to happen about behaviors, as Warwick mentioned. And I think this is where your behaviors can sit really well, is around your values. And, you know, this is, again, going back to that bus analogy, it's kind of saying, you know, this is where we're going. Our bus is going in this direction. But if you step on this bus, this is kind of what you need to be. This is how you need to be. These are our behaviors. These are our values. And then you don't end up with, you know, as the picture shows, and this is my picture from kind of how I felt, is like a square peg in a round hole, because it just doesn't fit. And you need to find the people that fit with your values. And it might be over time, those values have kind of morphed into something you're not really keen on, that they're not really serving the business or the people well. But really be clear on what your values are, what really matters to you and your business. And I'm just put mine up on here because these came about. I set these up right at the outset of Pro Development. And they're very personal to me, but it's my business, so I kind of knew this is what I needed for my business. But it's also about how we work with our clients. So we share our values with our clients, with prospective new people that join the company. I would never employ somebody who didn't resonate with those values, who couldn't connect with those in some way. We talk about them all the time in the team. Having fun is a massive one for us. We really love to have fun in what we do. And it's a really big driver for me. The making a difference and the having fun are probably my top two in there. And we have a phonometer that we talk about in the office. You know, how fun is it feeling? And if it isn't, then we kind of talk about that. So again, it's a bit like with the vision, like Warwick was saying, not having it on a shelf. It's the amount of times you see values plastered on people's walls and they don't even know what they are. Or I'll say to a company, tell me about your values. And they go, yeah, they're on the website somewhere. That's it. And they don't know what they are. So it's very similar. Your vision and values really couple really nicely together, because your vision is your direction and your values is, this is how we're going to get there. We're not going to achieve that vision if we haven't got these values in place, and we're not actually living and breathing those values every single day in everything that we do. And that comes from the top. You know, it should start from the top and then run through the bottom. Everybody should be living and breathing those values. Again, just a question. How many of you have got core values in your business? Again, stick your hand up if you've got some values. Okay, so again, a bit of a mix, some not, some haven't. So yeah, it's sorry, I've just noticed a couple of comments coming up as well about saying we pay the best or give the most holiday. Yeah, absolutely. It's more about the nice culture. It's really interesting actually on that, George. On our engagement surveys that we do, we find that by Warwick, I've seen you've got to disappear. Yeah, no problem. On the surveys that we do, one of the things we measure is pay. You know, do people feel that they're paid fairly for the work they do? And loads of businesses will always go, oh, I bet everybody's going to say they're not getting paid enough. Very, very rarely. It's all about the things that George has mentioned. People talk about the things. Do they feel praise and recognition? Do they enjoy what they do? You know, do they work with really lovely people? Is there a great culture? Those are the things that are far more important to people than often than pay as well. So just I've put this on here, not for you to obviously look at, because there's loads of things on there, but it might just be worth thinking about. And it's just a bit of a kind of a inspiration, maybe. If you haven't got values, you'll get a copy of these afterwards. So I'm not expecting you to go through them all now, but they might inspire you a little bit to think about some maybe different things that are important to you. Maybe if you don't know what your values are, maybe spending some time thinking, actually, what are my values? What matters to me? Great activity to do with the team is actually get everybody to share their values as well. We often talk about our deal breaker. We always have 5 values, and then what's your deal breaker? What's that value that if it was broken, you'd really struggle to recover from? And getting people to share that. I've just been doing that this morning with the team, actually, and really interesting, again, how very different people's values were, even though they all work for the same company, but also really thinking about what mattered to them and what their deal breakers were. And again, just in the same way as the vision, you know, communicate your values and your culture, be explicit, and really help people understand what your culture is and why it's so important to you. You know, making sure it's part of your induction, that people are really clear what it means to work here and what it is to, what, you know, what's to do. So just to kind of a few little sort of tips just to finish off kind of the steps we've gone through. So starting from the bottom, make sure you clarify the vision and inspire people, you know, set goals and agree objectives with people, live and breathe those values, and then trust other people to deliver against that. If you've got your vision and your values really clear, just let people get on, trust them and empower them to go away and do amazing things. And I promise you, if you have those things in place, you will see a real difference in people, and you will get the great results that we're talking about here as well, in terms of high performing teams and a great place to work and culture. So thank you so much. Just a couple of minutes really just for you to think about, and I just want to give you just a minute just reflecting on what you've done. What's one thing you're going to do? I'll just give you a minute to think about it, and then I'm just going to come and ask you to share what one thing you're going to take away from the session, one thing that you can do differently. And if you've, as soon as you've got one to share, give me a wave, and then other people can be thinking about them. But if you've got one to share, give me a little wave. It'd be good to hear from you. So anybody got any immediate actions that they're going to take? Janie?
I think for our boarding kennels business, I think it's more about getting my family to learn about the wider picture. I think if we can get sort of that more positive attitude rather than the sort of negative, oh well, you know, the track's fallen away with the rain, you know, trying to do it a little bit more positive, and then sort of trying to project that forward in the way that we market ourselves to the wider picture of Redcar and Cleveland, but also to North Yorkshire. I think may move our business forward, because we're still stuck 40 years ago. My husband and I quietly push and push and push, but it's where it's got to move on to the next level, really, which I do think connecting with the wider remit of businesses around us as well. So I think it's a collective experience to the area. Going back to that whole sort of telling a story, but like that TV advert about life insurance, where the lollipop man's talking to the person in the vet, who then talks to the person on the bus, who then talks. And I think that story has to begin and has to move forward with all the positives and challenging those negatives.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Janie. Anybody else? Anybody else making any commitments? Esther?
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting that information you mentioned, but I feel really like this is so key to what we do. I'm going to really champion values, and I'm going to set out exactly why it's an important part of our business to do so.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Just while you're talking as well, I'm just launching a poll. One of the things that the LEP have asked is to get some feedback from everybody on the session. So if you can fill that in as well, but keep sharing as you, for those that have got more to share. So any other actions that anybody's taken? Love to hear from anybody else. George, I noticed has put something in. Thank you, George. I know you're having some problems with your Wi-Fi and stuff, but yeah, great to hear, George, that that's been helpful as well. Thank you. Okay. So just while you're finishing the poll off, just a couple of other things. Well, there's a list, and you'll get a copy of these. That's the list of all of the webinars, so you can see there's more to come. So the next one is next week, looking at leading authentically, and that might be quite a nice one just to kind of follow on from how do you then take that vision and then lead in a really authentic way. But you'll get a copy of those afterwards as well. And we're here to help. If there's anything we could do to help, we're just based in York, just near the designer outlet at York, and we're always happy to have a chat and a cuppa or a Zoom or whatever it is that you need. If you need any help with any of this stuff, then please don't be afraid to get in touch with us. And again, my details there. If anybody would like to do that, you've got all my details, and again, you'll get a copy of those as well. So thank you all so much. I hope you found that helpful. Certainly looking, I think there's just one person who hasn't voted, but I don't know whether if you can get a chance just to do that a vote, but certainly from the feedback you're saying it's been really helpful, so that's really good. Thank you so much for your time and for coming along, and good luck with the work that you've got to do on these. And yeah, if you get a chance,
Michelle.
always
Really
good to
useful.
get. Oh, good. Thank you, Richard. I always love a little email now and again as well. If you get any successes, it's always really nice to hear from you. So yeah, good luck with them all. Pleasure. Thank you. Take good care, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.